Okay, let's say we're on time right now. We will call the meeting to order. We'll begin a little differently this evening. We'll administrate the oath of office and acceptance of office for Mr. Robinson. That'll be read by the clerk. Larry, if you'd stand up.
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Do you hereby accept the office of school board member of the Independent School District number 252 for a term beginning November 25th, 2019 and expiring the first Monday in January 2021?
I do.
Do you swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and that you will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member of Independent School District 252 to the best of your judgment and ability?
I do.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Please take your seat. Now we're all present and accounted for, and if we'd all please stand and join us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin, we'd like to recognize the civics class. Thank you for coming. I know it's a requirement, but we enjoy having you here. So, agenda items, any changes, amendments, deletions? Jeff?
Nope, anything that can forward me.
Okay. If not, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda as shown.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Brenda,
A second.
seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have no scheduled presenters. Public input. If anyone wishes to speak to the school board about issues pertaining to the district that they have concerns or questions about, now is your time. Moving on. Consideration to approve the finance report. Mr. Davison.
Yep. So again, it's kind of the cash flow worksheet where we're at right now. The two accounts on the top, the merchant's checking and community resource, are the two banking accounts we have our funds at. Merchant's checking is essentially for the employees' HSA funds that draws out on the 15th and the 30th for employees. And the community resource is the main holder of our bank account currently. We talked a little bit about, just so you can understand, there's just about $3.2 million balance between the two. When we went through audit, just because of the timing of June 30th, it just happened to be the day that it worked out, but we were under collateralized for the funds at the bank, and we are currently within the statute and the fine of that. We're even at $3 million here, we're collateralized for our funds. So if anything were to happen, normally through normal banking, your FDIC insured up to $250,000. The bank has to make sure they have enough collateral backing our funds so that if something were to happen, we'd be covered and not lose anything else. So it's just kind of a FYI or a follow-up from audit that understand that we're all fully collateralized and covered there. Not a whole lot of highlights that go through the cash flow here, other than about a quarter of the way down the last of the calendar year 19 taxes. We'll have a little cleanup from Goodhue County and Dakota County to clean up the rest of the second half of taxes for the calendar year of 2019. There's a bus lease payment that will be going out, the fourth payment out of 5 for bus number 12. But the big thing in terms of what we do here is on that last quarter of the page down at February 1st, debt service payments. And we've got quite a few payments that go out. Generally our debt funds, we have a principal and interest payment that happens at the end of January, beginning of February. That's for two of the bonds are for the refunding on the building project for the auditorium field house and improvements are done at that time. One is for the long-term facilities maintenance bond that we had done. And then the OPEB will be the final principal and interest payment for that one. It was a 10-year bond that we did to finance some other post-employment benefits, and that one will be ending, so that'll be the last time that we have that payment. The second payment that occurs is an interest-only payment, and that is in the August month. Kind of in order to put it in perspective in a residential kind of frame, our mortgage payments on the buildings. Once those funds go out, you'll see a dramatic decrease in the cash we have in the district. Several years ago, and probably more in the ballpark now of 6 or 7, we get to this time of year, and based on the way the state was funding the districts at the time and pulling back some funds, we need to look at doing some anticipation borrowing. Banks are generally pretty good about doing that for school districts because it's backed by the state of Minnesota. We haven't had to do that, and as it shows here, again, we'll be fine in terms of cash flow to be able to make our obligations with the funds on hand. So, if there's any questions you have, I can do my best to answer what you have.
Questions?
So on bus lease number 9,
The
that's
fifth payment of five.
fifth payment, so it'll be paid off on that one.
And this has kind of been the philosophy of the recent past that we lease buses to get, we got a little behind on the number of buses that were in good shape for the district, and we could get roughly 4 buses per year by leasing them versus buying one straight out. As we go through, now we're getting pretty caught up on the buses. A change in philosophy might be, do we want to just buy one each year, have it in the budget that way and keep the bus rotation going, and not have the interest payment that we have on those lease buses. Maybe save just a little bit of funds that way. It all kind of depends on how we feel comfortable with the buses that are in service for us and going forward financially what is the best deal for the school. But certainly, if we can able to stay on a good rotation with the buses and buy one each year without having that interest, it'd be savings to the district.
So when we make the fifth payment, then we own the bus?
Yeah, so, typical leases, residential or a personal one, you might have to give the vehicle back or pay mileage. Most leases for school district or municipalities have a dollar buyout or are owned at the end of it. All of our buses are set up that way. At the end of the lease, we own the vehicle.
Right.
So do you have an opinion on leasing versus buying?
We're gonna be discussing it at our next transportation committee meeting. It's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
We do have that thing, I have my own personal opinion. I don't know if
Well, you'll share it with the committee and let us know what you think.
we certainly do that.
Okay, any other questions for John? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the finance report as shown. Motion by Bill. Second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any one item, it can be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Please take a moment to review the minutes if you haven't already.
If I could read off the list of donations real quick, that
Yeah,
would be
please.
greatly appreciated for you guys do that. Starting with the CFYAA, they had 3 donations, one of $1,000 of concession equipment, one of $1,500 each to the girls and boys basketball programs. Cannon Falls Dance Team Parent Association donated $3,404 for the extra coaching staff. Natalie DeMars LeClaire donated $15 for I'm gonna need help on that one, Parfleck.
You won't get it from here.
Parfleche. Oh, thank you for the bag for social studies. Gemini with a $9,000 donation to robotics, along with Bayer as well with a $3,000 donation for robotics. Cannon Falls Fire Department donated $250 to the senior class party. And Fluxcraft donated $1,000 for parts from their website for the pit for area improvements. So we want to thank all of our donations, our donors for their donations.
I would just say, I don't think we have reports this month or this week, but the Ed Foundation met on November 22nd, and they did approve for the November requests. I don't think it's gonna, it'll be
It'll
be
go
on
through
our
to
list
December.
next time, but it was $3,618. And also for Give to the Max Day, they raised $14,000.
Thank you. Okay, please look at that consent agenda item for just a moment. And then, when we're ready, anyone can chime in for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Katie,
Second.
seconded by Anna. Other discussion? All in favor of the approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have no old business under new business. We'll jump into the soups report.
Thank you. I got just a few items here. One is a reminder for school board members to sign up for the conference. Let Lori know if you are going for sure, because we will need to cancel some of our reserved block rooms if you're not able to make the conference or not able to make it for all the nights that we have set up for you. So please make sure. I think there's a sheet in right there actually. If you can X off the nights that you're planning on going, that would be great. The other one that I have is Cannon Falls will be joining a partnership with Zumbrota, Mazeppa, Pine Island, and the Goodhue County Ed District through a grant provided by the Southeast Service Cooperative to employ a career navigator position. And this career navigator position will be working in the 4 districts on aligning career curriculum and helping to really start partnership conversations and to continue the ones that we have had, to set up such things as site visits, career fairs, job shadowing, career pathway development, involving internships and other dual credit options, hopefully that we can get further enhanced in the Cannon Falls School District by utilizing this person. Obviously, we have the National Science Foundation grant, which we're in the middle of setting that up as well, so this will tie in very nicely with this. This person will be hired through the Southeast Service Co-op and will be funded fully from the grant starting in January of 2020. And it'll be about a 2-year position that we will be able to utilize. And the hope is eventually that if this is a success, then businesses will help provide the funding for that position moving forward. I think it would be a great position to further enhance and really concentrate on that business and school connection that we've been, I think Southeast Minnesota has been wanting that for a long time, to help get kids connected with a career and also get them experiences out into the workforce so that they can identify what is important to them and what they are interested in. So currently, we had met last week and the position opened this past Friday. And so the position will be open for 2 weeks and we'll be interviewing in mid-December for this position. So I'll keep you updated on that as well. The final thing that I have is some, Mr. Hodges was going to be here to present on the auditorium wireless microphones and the lighting needs that came up last meeting, but he was unable to stay tonight. So he wrote up some information here. I can kind of give you some highlights of where we are at. There has been discussion with wireless microphones and the auditorium lighting over at least the past year or so, if not longer. But obviously, items take money, and with these items, they're not cheap items whatsoever. With the wireless microphones, our FCC license expires this coming July, so we do need to replace those microphones. It's a matter of finding the quality that we would want for the price point that we're willing to pay for that, and then obviously coming up with the funds to meet that demand. The quotes that we have gotten so far range from $4,100 to $10,000. And so we want to make sure that we are investigating these and making sure that we make good, a good buying of those items. The auditorium lighting, with the way that the lighting is set, first of all, in the auditorium, to change bulbs, we have to get man lifts in there, and not only just the straight up and down man lifts, but to go project over the seating in the auditorium. And so changing them can be a challenge sometimes. They do get to the ones that they can get to, but the other ones that are harder, they have to wait to make sure that it's economical to bring in the lift to change those. The other idea has been, and maybe you guys have had these discussions somewhere along the line, is to change those lights from the fluorescent that they are in there right now to LEDs. So one, that they're more efficient and that they don't give off as much heat as they do when they're fully on. And so creating that project, and then at the same time, I believe Mr. Peterson told me that the last areas of non-LED lighting is in the auditorium and then on the outside of the field house. And so doing a project for that, we would like to combine that and do it all at once. And then obviously LED lighting will last longer in those areas, and we wouldn't have to change out bulbs as often as well, plus it'll be more efficient. And again, finding the money to do that is the challenge that is in front of us as well. So we will be putting together, obviously, a list of items that need to be done like this and try to match them up with monies that we currently have moving forward.
Any questions for Jeff on any of this?
I had a question. I was absent last meeting when we were talking about the microphones. So you say the license is expiring, so are the microphones, are they still working? Or
It's my understanding of the mic, well, the working, I don't know if it is a good word or not. If you went to the musical, it's the older microphones are interrupted by cell phone frequency. And
I was
this is
there
getting out of
and I
my
heard it.
technical wheelhouse
Yeah.
here. So that caused interruptions during the musical, which is unfortunate because it was a great musical. But it got better as the night went along, as they dialed it in a little bit better. But once those FCC licenses are lapse, we cannot use them anymore, and so therefore we have to replace them to get on a different band.
Because it's something to do with the frequency, and like, I think they said that it was maybe going to a different entity, like a different grouping, like the fire department or whatever. Like the frequency, we were no longer able to use that channel. But I agree, the musical had it's a need. I can see that it's a need for that.
so again, then I think we've talked a little bit about the finance part of it. Obviously, we're not really budgeted for replacement.
Right. Yeah.
And so then it would probably be another add to the list of things that we would have to begin budgeting for, because the next one's gonna be good for.
And we would know,
years.
right? Like we would know when that expires.
Yeah.
So we could anticipate needing to replace at that time then too, right?
Right.
To
We
plan
have
forward.
Restricted funds for that? Okay.
Yeah, we would have to put this into a budget for the following fiscal year unless we have dollars remaining at the end of this year that are budgeted and people feel comfortable putting it toward that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to new biz, consideration to approve the 1920 strategic priority documents.
As you guys are aware of, we spent a good part of the last month and a half or so working on this document that was finalized and sent out to the stakeholders. And this is the document that I am bringing forward for your approval. Once we have this document approved, the administration team will work again using this document and the 5 strategic priorities to create a list of tasks, if you will, to help accomplish those goals around these 5 strategic priorities. I don't know if that's a good one to look at or if it's better to look at it here.
Looking for approval of the priorities.
Yeah, what we'll do is, once we get approval of the priorities, we'll start working on a plan to start, almost an action plan to start meeting the strategic priorities.
Anyone like to comment on that process to get us to this point? It was, you put in some long hours doing this. How do you feel about the process in general?
The process was long. It was well attended, I thought.
A lot of engagement for
A lot
everyone.
of
yeah.
engagement.
Collaboration.
And so, Jeff, you said it was sent to the stakeholders, and so did the original community members also get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we asked for input on the document that we had narrowed down. And then we asked everyone to send their feedback to Amy Rover again
Okay.
at the Southeast Service Co-op. And then if there was any changes, I think the biggest one that probably changed was the 5th one. And we decided that it may look like there are items that are left out, but we still have a list of action items that we could use to help create that. So these statements are broad enough statements that we can create action items underneath each one of those statements.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that came out of it that I remember is that of all the items, it was more around not being as specific, and so you wanted to keep it broad in order to be able to develop a plan and address multiple things within that item.
Yeah. The action plans will be more specific.
Right.
As we move forward and with more, this is what we're planning on doing, this is when we're planning on doing it by, and this is who's responsible for it. And then we start hopefully building either building level goals off of that, or even evaluations for people like my evaluation or the principal's evaluations on the implementation of those action plans.
And ultimately becoming the vision.
Yeah, it all should point upward.
Upward.
Yep, toward reaching the mission and the vision.
Yeah, I think the priorities look good and they're very more focused than, I think in the last meeting, we were kind of getting too broad and I liked the way they did break it down into 5. And they're not specific or prescriptive, but just very well focused, I think, and very clear.
I was impressed by the fact that she led us through this process, but yet these are directed toward us specifically. So I thought she did a very good job of pulling it
Yeah, the
together.
messaging along the way was critical, I think, because it became a resounding message as you changed groups and discussed it. So I felt very comfortable with it.
I'm not sure we could have gotten through it without staff's input. I mean, there's
Oh.
the day-to-day people in the trenches, if you
Well,
will.
it changed the conversation a little bit, I think, and redirected it probably more where it was fitting.
Mhm.
The hope is to have actionable items put to this plan if you pass it tonight for the December meeting, but that might be a little challenging.
That's aggressive.
So, I will have more communication to come as we start working on this weekly and admin team meetings. to let you know when hopefully that'll be available to the board. Obviously, we don't want to drag this out too far, but we do want to put some meaningful work into this document to create the actionable items.
Okay, unless anybody, well, we can make a motion and adjourn and speak to it more if we choose to. I'd like to
I'll
hear a
make a
motion.
to approve.
Brenda on the motion,
Second.
Anna on the second. Other discussion?
You know, as you move forward and develop these action plans, I guess what I would like to see is these kind of continue on in maybe notations or letterhead or something, because it stays as a focus then. It's not an action that we've spent hours on and it just kind of gets
Yeah.
shelved.
I think there's things like, if you look at the mission statement over here, that we need to change the painting on the wall, and that might be a good time to just paint the room again, because I think it could probably use a painting
Use
of it.
color.
And I think those are vinyl,
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to call them stickers, but they're vinyl that you could easily pull them off and on. And having the mission and vision statement forward for us to see it of what we had created, I think will be a helpful item, whether we put it at the beginning or the end of every board agenda,
Mhm.
and keeping that front and center of, and helping you guys focus on why we are here. And having that leadership piece and keeping that big picture in mind
Thank you.
as well.
Okay, anyone else have a comment? Otherwise, all in favor of the approval of the 1920 strategic priority document, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 18-19 combined WorldFest workforce summary and achievement and integration progress report.
This is a yearly required report by the Minnesota Department of Education that is based off of our World's Best Workforce Plan, which is basically seen as the strategic plan for the district, that are based also off of the 5 areas that are in the summary here that the state wants you and school districts to focus on. This is obviously, as I mentioned above, a summary report. We are not a part of an achievement and integration district, so we don't get dollars for that, so we don't have to do that part of the report. But the other part of the report needs to be handed in to the State Department by December 15th. And this summary is based off of last year's test results and the goals that were set in the 5 areas that the state requires, and how we dealt with each of those 5 areas. So if you look at the first one, all students are ready for school. This is really dealing with students coming from preschool into kindergarten. And then the second goal area is that all students in 3rd grade achieve grade level reading literacy. And that is a multi-year goal that was set up. The third one is closing the achievement gap or gaps between student groups. And the achievement gap group that was identified for us is the special education student achievement gap. Fourth one is all students are career and college ready. And that is based off of ACT scores, multi-year goal. And finally, all students graduate, which is basically what it says.
Yeah.
It is.
Any questions for Mr. Sampson on this? If not, I would look for a motion to approve.
I have a question. The all-student career and college ready for graduation.
Yep.
It's based on the ACT executive test, but how do you deal with students that aren't going on to college? How does it fit into that section?
That is a good question, and I wish Mr.
All juniors take the
It's a
ACT.
requirement.
That was part of my question with if Tim was here, but if you know that, that's great.
Yeah, it's a
So they
requirement.
do take it. So that is based off of all juniors taking it. Right. That's pretty impressive.
Look
Thank
for
you.
a motion.
Approve.
Motion by Bill. Second. Seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 19 final audit.
This came back in the final form and there were no changes that I'm aware of unless Josh wants to speak to that.
Our committee just kind of review since we presented in September. So in terms of the audit, the process is going really well with Adelaide and Myers, and they've been our audit company since I've been in the business office. It's nearly 20 years. So we're real familiar with each other, and the process goes real smoothly. We just need to wrap up a few things in order to get the final document done, but none of that pertains to anything that's going to be material in terms of the changing dollar amounts or fund balances. Things that they kind of, Brad, when he was here, he talked about our lead auditor, Brad, that's the name, Poltasic, I know, we call him Brad. We usually have a couple of findings, and some of them are something that districts our size will always typically have, just because we don't have the staffing abilities of some of the bigger districts. We don't have a CPA on staff to do the financial reports themselves. Our auditors do that. We're giving them the information, and they're relying on us to provide them correct information. They're just compiling the financial statements. The other thing will be some segregation of duties. Again, a lot of places will have multiple people within staff so that there's lots of different hands involved. So there are a lot of segregation of duties, whereas in district our size, a lot of us are multitasking and pulling over the same duties. So two findings that are pretty common in districts our size. The other one we talked a little bit about in the financial report was the collateral coverage. And we'd had that covered right after usually in the summer months, we might get a large chunk of our cash from the IDEAS payments, which are the main source of funds for the state of Minnesota. And depending on the timing of that, we can have an extra large balance in our bank account. And if the bank isn't ready for those funds and they're not collateralized, it could be a finding in the report. Generally, it's not an issue because it happens a matter of days, but this picture in this audit is as of June 30th. It's not as June 29th, it's not July 1, it's June 30th. So we'll do a better job to keep going with that, and that's why I made a point of saying in the finance committee meeting, or the finance report, that we are covered now. So just being aware of findings that were in the audit report we're taking care of. In terms of the numbers itself, I think the big thing we've been talking about, whether it be strategic planning or through finance meetings or as you've gone through different committees, is where the fund balance is at. And when we talk fund balance, really the big fund that we need to take care of is the general fund. All the other ones are kind of based on the activity. So the food service kind of runs and supplies itself. We had to have a small transfer in order to help cover some funds there. The community service is similar. Debt service is basically set up. We tell the companies what we need to levy for our debt service payments, and that's what it's set on. So they really kind of run themselves. But the general fund is the one that we really have to keep that eye on. And when we talk about where's the fund balance at, where's the unassigned fund balance at, it's about the general fund and the dollars we have to do the day-to-day operations of the school and to teach and educate our students and provide that background for them. Our fund balance policy for the district is to strive towards 8 to 12% in the unassigned fund balance. Currently, at the end of this audit, we're at 6% total fund balance in the general fund. We're out of the SOD, obviously we're doing okay that way, and it's a margin that we've been not comfortable doing, but we've managed to get by many years doing it, being, I think, very cautious and frugal with the stuff we do and not being extravagant with things, but it is a very thin margin to operate the school district on in terms of fund balance. The big wording in that policy is unassigned fund balance. We want to have an unassigned fund balance of 8 to 12%, and that really means that when we have something that's assigned, that's set aside for whether it be severance benefits, capital expenditures, certain items that are, it's earmarked for that so we don't spend it. We talk unassigned balances, that's dollars that we can use, whether it be negotiations or a new added part to a facility, or we're gonna add a program, unassigned dollars we can spend to our discretion. Our unassigned fund balance right now is just under 3%, about $366,000. The percentage of fund balance is based on our expenditures. And right now, our fund balance, or our expenditures for last fiscal year are about $13 million. An unassigned fund balance of 8% of $13 million is just over $1 million. So that kind of gives you a ballpark of where we're at, $366,000. If we're striving for 8%, $1 million, we're about $650,000 short of that. So just kind of an idea as we go forward with this planning and finance committee, or through other talks and other committees, kind of just to give the ballpark picture of where we're at. So that's why the audit is a good mechanism for us to kind of look at where we're at, where we're going, and how are we going to get there. Other than that, there's no change in the numbers that were presented by Brad in September. The state of MDE needs to have a final audited version sent on November 30th. We just need to have the board approval on the fiscal year audit. If there are any questions, I can do my best to answer what you have.
We need to improve our fund balance.
Yeah, that's
It's probably incumbent on us to have a finance committee meeting soon to discuss strategies, because certainly either we raise revenue or lower expenditures, and we probably need to lower expenditures. So I guess that's a,
Yeah, it's one of those things, that when they determine your fund balance amount, it's based on your level of expenditure. So either increase revenues or you lower the expenditures. And, 8% on 10 million is a much lower number than 8% on 13 million.
You mentioned the collateralization with the bank,
Yep.
so what are we doing to not have that?
Just working a little bit more closely with Roxanne and Shelby at Community Resource Center Bank to kind of tell them a timing that, hey, we're going to have some funds coming in.
Just a reminder and
Yep.
notification.
Yeah, so more of us being proactive and saying, hey, on the 15th, we're gonna have this amount coming in, rather than getting to their account, they see that they've got an excess, and they come back to us, so we're just getting more proactive on that.
but we do need to approve the final audit so we can take care of our requirements.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Bill to approve. Second? Seconded by Katie. Other discussion? All in favor of the approval of the final audit for 19, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the facility use procedures and guidelines.
As we were going through different policies and procedures, we came across the facility use guidelines, which prompted a discussion on how a rental or facility rental happens, and the process and procedures going from starting that process to the end of the process and everything in between. And in looking at this document, we had noticed and followed through some old board minutes that there was an update done, I think it was about a little over a year ago. But they were approved by the committee, but not necessarily approved by the board. And so that's probably the first thing that we need to get taken care of, is to approve this. From the document that we had seen that was changed a year and a half ago, there were a couple of smaller items that need to be changed as well. And so we're looking for approval of not only the changes, but also the document itself. During that process discussion, we talked about the handling and the billing out of those rentals as well, and how to track that through a process until we have received the revenue, to make sure that it all ties up in the end, and Josh is able to tie it out to the original rental of the facility. So hopefully we'll have a tighter process moving forward with this.
I'm a little bit leery of approving something I haven't seen for a while or seen at all. And I think we did see this, but Jerry Renardi was just really front and center when he was on the board to have this reviewed, so I would guess it would be during his tenure.
So is there a list of the actual changes?
They're all crossed out,
Or is
right?
it strike out?
Yeah, these are the ones that were, the changes from the last change group from a year and a half.
So briefly, are we changing classifications?
Moving on.
No, the biggest changes to this document that we're asking for is to have a $500 refundable damage deposit added for large-scale rentals payable at the time of reservation. And then also the indoor facility, doing a little bit of clarification around the rate per hour for the gymnasiums. And then also, especially with the concession stand, bumping that up to include, and we'll get more into this discussion a little bit later, but the amount of time that it takes to run and clean the concession stand after a rental to meet health code is quite a bit of time.
Or more than $5?
It's more than $5 than what it was. Right. The media center one is just, we have one media center in each building, and so there's this kind of redundant thing. People want to rent the cafeteria with no kitchen, that's again kind of a cleanup of that. And then in talking with Jake, he said, trying to figure out so much per adult participation and so much per youth participants for outdoor facility rentals. He had just kind of made it what we have available for the indoor rental areas on a per hour basis. And he didn't know why it was different from outside to inside facilities. So we just made that,
Seems easier.
it's a lot easier.
I know that in conversation with Renardi when he was on the board, it was, he had some concerns that we lose money on events. And sometimes that's to be expected if we get a small group that struggles financially. We don't necessarily want to hit them large charges, and that's where we work on the classifications, I think. But has it been discussed at all when we have bigger organizations, bigger entities that use our facilities, that we don't come out on the short end of things?
Yes, we discussed that extensively during our meeting on this. And a lot of it focused on making sure that we are charging out not only the appropriate amount of custodial and kitchen preparation work in there, but also at the appropriate rate. And so we looked at that rate also as well. And at the time, I think it was, well, we had set the rate at $38 an hour, which includes, most of the employees at that time, if it's on a weekend event, are gonna be at time and a half anyway, and then you include in the benefits of that. And that was the number that we arrived at, and that is a middling number, if you wanna call it that, of the employees, and maybe Josh can explain that a little bit.
So you have to admit, because especially with the custodian, it could be any of several custodians. We just take an average rate of custodians that may be working on a weekend, and in order to recoup the salary, the benefits that go with it, and then the time and a half, it works out to be about $38 an hour. And real similar to what the food service staff is. The food service actually has in their contract, if you're catering an event, which is the weekend sort of items, that it's a flat $20. It was a little bit easier to figure that one out, but they arrived at just pennies difference between the two. So we just came up with one rate that's the same for both the custodian and the food service part. And again, this would be outside of your normal day, so custodians are here now 3 to 11. We decide overtime deal, but on a weekend when I come in, that's all overtime, time and a half, so it made more sense to make sure that we're including that coverage and not losing something on supporting an event with custodial cost. It could be pretty large for a group that has maybe 2 to 3 custodians covering for 12 hours. We gotta make sure we get that cost back.
And I think it's important for us to also give them a correct estimate of what that cost is gonna be. And then also, when we receive that money in, to make sure we receive the full amount for that, because we are paying it out on the back end
Yes.
in payroll. And I think we ended up that process hopefully pretty well to move forward with.
I have a question. What if it's a tournament or something like that, that's a school-related
The
organization?
school-related events still
They're
fall in that
class one.
classification
Class one.
and that's
But
all
then that would be zero.
school district costs.
There's no charge for that?
If there's school events, yeah.
If it's other schools hosting it, or,
We get paid entry fees.
oh, we get paid by
Yeah,
the.
anything that the school district offers, so if Mr. Winchell puts it in as a C-Squad boys basketball tournament, that we host at the school-sponsored activity, that's classification one that's covered for, so that overtime, the school pays for that. Say an alumni tournament, that's a nonprofit, maybe, category two,
Yeah.
there's gonna be some cost involved with that one, because it's not, you know, they're very good, they laugh, but it's kind of, I receive funds back from my basketball guys working it, but it's a nonprofit group, and it's, the funding's not directly going back to the school, so there's a little cost for that part of it.
So if we're hosting a tournament, then the other schools pay entrance fees and that.
Yeah, and a lot of, the entrance fees, and it's tough because most tournaments that we go to, depending on the grade, $150 to $300, and it's really offsets the cost of the officials for that tournament. Officials, it's getting harder and harder to find officials, and if young guys and gals want to get into it, it's a really good thing to go and hang out in the gym and get yelled at for $25 an hour. But you can make some pretty decent money that way. But really, the cost of registration offsets the officials. Anything, if there's gate or concessions, that might really help cover the extra cost, the custodian cost, and then the rest would be like fundraise dollars for that organization that's running it.
I think the big picture view on some of those tournaments though, for the school is you're bringing people into town
Yeah.
and they spend money, and this is a taxpayer funded building, obviously. And so a lot of them are businesses in the community that survive in their livelihood. I think that is a nice circular piece to that, so I think it's tied out kind of nicely.
Okay.
We've talked in the past about certain groups getting discounts for using certain facilities. I don't see anything in here about that. Is that on a to be determined basis, or? I mean, I'm thinking
When you say
specifically.
discount,
Well, I know that when we were discussing the senior center, they talked about how we give them a discounted rate to use the auditorium for their
I
annual
think it's
concerts.
a separate contract is the way I understand that.
Okay,
The classification of that allows for and Jake should be here, hopefully in the next 10 minutes. He's coaching right now, he may be able to answer that a little bit better.
I was just curious.
But I believe that's a classification
Yeah, that
for where we
looks
set up
like it would
independent
be.
contracts for long-term usage.
And the rates up for the school board,
Yeah, and then those specifics are spelled out in that contract.
43%.
So are those additional fees somewhere? So if a group's renting it, they know specifically what they're gonna be paying? Is that in that permit that they have to fill out and have signed turned in?
Yeah, and when they fill that out, they should put in exactly what they
Need.
need, that sort of thing. And then that will create an estimate if it's a large enough event that Jake and his office should share with that group leader, saying, here's your estimate. And
So that's number 6 on here. That a facility use permit will
Yeah.
be issued.
Yep.
What if it doesn't get returned before 48 hours? Then what happens?
well, we want to know this in a good amount of time, because there's a turnaround that needs to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we want to be as flexible as we can, and we try to be, but sometimes if it's not within that time frame, we can't be flexible
Right.
with that. And so, and a lot of that 48 hours is probably like
Just
a
for
weekend.
facilities.
Right.
To get ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I understand it. I just was wondering, would it cancel their reservation, or how do you?
I think the
What's
big
the
picture on that
expectation?
is that we want to get as much as many groups in here as we can,
Mhm.
but we need them to work with us as well.
Sure.
on that is probably the best way to say that.
I think if somebody needs to use a facility, they'd be timely about it.
Oh,
Sure.
absolutely.
But that doesn't always happen, I guess. Okay, we can continue discussion if you'd like, but can we have a motion to approve? Do we have a motion to approve? Well,
I got another question.
we
Going back.
can,
Okay,
we can move in second and,
okay, I'll make the motion.
motion by Brenda, second.
I'll second it.
Bill?
Going back to the class 4 long-term contract, procedurally, it says, it says rate will be set by school board. Is that each time? So that's
I think that's where it
page
says
32.
For a
rate
while.
effective, I'm guessing this means that the school board had already set it at 43%. So we wouldn't have to do it each time something comes up.
But if a new one came up, like a new long term, is
I
that?
think it would still be, this is rate effective as of is 43% of the hourly rate for all indoor facilities.
So was that set last meeting?
I'm guessing whenever you guys had that.
Well, it's dated
I'm sorry, I'm
November 12th.
colorblind here.
Yeah.
What page are you on?
Wait, you were,
Page
you go back
32.
up where you were.
Oh, I see.
I think that's,
Right.
that November 12th,
Right
that's
there.
if we approve
Oh,
it
there you
tonight,
go.
that's
Yeah. Oh,
changes.
that-
Yeah, rate is effective as of November 12th. We just changed the date to say that you've approved this rate again, if that's the rate that you want to have.
So that's 43% of their rate, the hourly rate, depending on which class the organization would fall under. Whether they would be nonprofit or commercial. I would assume.
Well, shouldn't that be the 25th because it's the revision date of the 25th?
Oh, yep. Yeah, some of these, we can change that to the 25th if that's gonna be the night, but we had met on the 12th. Are there other 12 in here? Or
Well-
is that the only one?
The
Well,
rental
but-
fees, if you go to section B, it's at the 12th date.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can change that. Yeah, revise the 25th. Sorry about that.
Anyone else?
You had good involvement in
We-
the facility group?
I'm not on the facilities.
Oh, I thought you were.
No, that was Mike.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are you okay with the revision, Brenda and Bill, to the 25th?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
That's surprised.
All in favor of the facility use procedures and guidelines, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the TLC renewal agreement.
This is our annual, or actually it's semi-annual renewal. Every other year, it's a 2-year agreement for Teachers on Call, which is our substitute calling company. And the change that I had seen on here is that they would previously go from a 26% to a 27% markup, so it's a 1% change in the pricing that we have.
Without any real background in that, you find that to be acceptable?
Yeah. Yeah, anytime you get a 1% change in what you're doing in this day and age, I think is very reasonable.
And have they been a good association with us?
They've been very good at communication, customer support, working with us on trying to recruit teachers to help substitute. Both, it was a good partnership, working back and forth on that. I guess I don't have a problem with them. I know they don't, not everything's gonna have 100% fill rate, but I can tell you that they've done a good job here from what I've seen on a good basis. I know other districts struggle to fill subs. But for the most part, I've been happy, and I guess I haven't heard anything from different from the principals. Ms. Shippey?
I would agree. I like what they're doing. I mean, we obviously have a sub shortage, but anytime we've got a last minute fill, their customer service is wonderful. And they do whatever they can to help. And even when we give feedback on subs, they make immediate communication with that sub, so, which is nice.
So do you have any opinion on why we're doing so well as far as filling subs, whereas other districts do have
Well, I
difficulty?
wouldn't say we're doing so well.
Well, well, better.
No, I don't know.
I think part of that is location.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
If you're in a traffic pattern, as I like to call it, if you are off the beaten path, you may not have as much success in the fill rate, just because of drivable roads during the school year sometimes. And I think the size of your school district helps out quite a bit when you have retired teachers that come back and do a great job like we have here.
That's
as
where I was
well.
going with it.
I would say once a week I get a job that's not filled.
Mhm.
I think that as comparison to other teachers I know, that's not bad.
Well, I just know in a larger school district, the comment was made that they have difficulty filling some, those positions, and so it was a concern of mine.
I know the
Yeah,
districts
that's
that I
right.
came from, they had a hard time, when you talk about one a week, they'd sometimes have one a day. They'd go through long stretches. But that was kind of, again, some of those off the beaten path. But you may not have the people coming back to something too.
Okay, look for a motion to approve the renewal agreement.
Move to approve.
Bill on the motion,
Second?
seconded by Anna. Other discussion? All in favor of the renewal agreement, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 1920 concession stand coordinator stipend of $1,000.
Between the fiscal management, the supply management, and the health, and especially the health code management of the statute that's required of that concession stand, there is quite a bit of work involved with running the concession stand. And talking with our admin team, we'd like to propose creating a position of a concession stand manager that would be paid $1,000 from the concession stand proceeds, so it wouldn't be district money, it would be money that was raised from the concession stand. This could be one person or multiple people. We would have to advertise this if approved. And so I think if we, I don't know which way is the right way to do this, where you approve the actual position and then approve the amount, or approve the amount and approve the position. Maybe it's written backwards here on the agenda, but that you kind of get the general idea of that. The people that have been doing it before have been volunteering a lot of their time, and I know it's a lot of work that they put in. And so I think this is something that would help offset some of their own gas mileage if they used to go pick up materials for the concession stand. It's probably a good way to look at it.
Look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the concession stand coordinator stipend of $1,000.
Motion by Katie, second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Brenda. Other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Consideration to post and hire this position.
It is what it is.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Bill, seconded by Anna. Other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve the 1920 winter assistant coaches. Finally, they're filled, huh?
Well, I believe so.
Yeah, Friday before the season started.
The boys' basketball, I believe, were the last ones according to this list here. So we have two. Yep.
Move to approve.
Motion by Bill to approve. Second?
Second.
Larry? Seconded by Larry. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Consideration to approve a retirement request from the cross-country head coach.
Mr. Shop has retired his cross-country position, and we're looking to approve that retirement request.
Wow. He's been doing that for a long time, hasn't he?
Yes. We'd like to thank him for his service,
Yes, we do.
if you approve the retirement.
Okay, I would look for a motion to approve the retirement request for Ben.
So moved.
Anna on the motion. Second.
Sadly, I will second.
Yeah, with regrets.
Yeah.
With regret.
These are always my least favorites.
You know, there's a program that's flown under the radar screen for many years, and they've just gone about their business and done a nice job for us.
He does an amazing job.
That's the personality of a coach sometimes. The kids carry that forward.
We've developed a lot of college level athletes.
He certainly has. Okay, we have a motion to second. All in favor of the retirement request, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to post and hire this position for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bill, seconded by Anna. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. Consideration to approve a medical leave extension.
This is for Sue Samuelson, and this will be through January 26th of 2020. And we have the proper documentation for that.
So moved.
One second.
Motion by Brenda, seconded by Bill. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're finished this evening. No other additions to it. Please note what's coming up very soon. Our special meeting of December 9th, we're going to review the MSBA or look at the MSBA training and the hiring process follow-up. And then we've got a regular 12/16 meeting in the boardroom, which includes truth and taxation. It's not our only agenda item though, is it?
No, there'll be a few other agenda items
Okay.
as well.
And then January 13 will be our organizational meeting. Remember to help Lori out on that MSBA conference, whether you're going or not, whether you're staying or not. And the sooner we can get that in, the better our budget will be, if you will. We don't have to have any rooms if we're not attending. Anything else for the cause this evening? Again, welcome to the ninth grade civics class. Thank you for coming. You're doing your best out there. You're listening. It's a great thing. Okay, I would look for a motion to adjourn. I would look for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Anna on the motion, Katie on the second. Any other discussion? All in
Aye.
favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry.
We are finished. Thank you.